Legacy of Creation. 1 year after the Corexian fleet's transformation, Earth hosted the first Galactic Arts Symposium. The event drew beings from 1,000 worlds to the sprawling crystal gardens that now encircled the planet. Living artworks created through the combined efforts of human and Corexian artists. Dr. Maya Lakshmi stood at the symposium's opening ceremony, her quantum interface now seamlessly integrated with both human and Corexian technologies. The garden around her pulsed with creativity, each crystal formation capturing and amplifying the artistic energies of the gathered species. A year ago, she addressed the assembled delegates. We faced what seemed to be our greatest challenge. Instead, it became our greatest opportunity. Not just for humanity or for the Corexians, but for all sentient life. The transformed Corexian fleet, now known as the Wandering Galleries, had become a symbol of this new era. Under Admiral Zextar's guidance, these living art installations traveled the galaxy, sharing the combined artistic heritage of both civilizations and collecting new expressions of creativity from every world they visited. In the Quantum Harmonics Network, Dr. James Okonjo and his team had made a breakthrough that changed their understanding of the universe itself. Consciousness, creativity, and reality are more deeply connected than we ever imagined. He explained to a group of multi-species researchers, every act of artistic expression literally reshapes the quantum fabric of space-time. The evidence was visible in the space around Earth. The combined creative energies of so many species had begun to affect the fundamental forces of nature. Gravity waves became musical compositions. Light itself danced to the rhythms of collective consciousness. The boundary between art and physics had not just blurred, it had dissolved entirely. Marina Chen, now the director of the Interstellar Symphony, conducted performances that included instruments humans had never dreamed of before first contact. Corexian crystal resonators played alongside gravity harps from the Centaur worlds and quantum drums from the Pleiades. Each performance created new forms of matter and energy, advancing both art and science simultaneously. Sub-Commander Ixtel, who had become one of the leading teachers at the Creative Physics Academy, made perhaps the most profound discovery. The universe itself, they announced during a landmark presentation, appears to be an ongoing act of artistic creation. By tapping into this through our combined creative expressions, we're not just making art. We're participating in the fundamental creative force of existence itself. The impact of this revelation rippled through galactic society. Species that had once competed for resources or territory now collaborated on massive artistic #Part 1. First Contact's irony. The message arrived during the annual Global Arts Festival in Neo, Singapore, interrupting Marina Chen's conducting of the World Symphony Orchestra. The quantum-enhanced instruments fell silent as every holoscreen in the floating amphitheater lit up with the same stark message: submit or perish. Director Chen didn't lower her baton. Instead, she turned to the audience of 50,000 and smiled. "It seems we have some unexpected critics," she said, her voice carrying through the acoustic perfect arena. "Shall we show them how humanity responds to criticism?" The Corexian Empire's ultimatum continued scrolling across the screens, detailing their military might. A fleet of 10,000 warships, planet-destroying weapons, and technologies that could reduce Earth to cosmic dust. But the audience, like their conductor, seemed more amused than frightened. In the 3 millennia since their last war, humanity hadn't been idle. They'd chosen a different path, not one of military might, but of artistic and cultural evolution. Every human child learned from birth how to manipulate quantum fields through dance, how to reshape matter through music, how to bend reality through poetry. What the Corexians saw as weakness was humanity's greatest strength. In the Orbital Defense Center, now repurposed as the Global Cultural Exchange Hub, Dr. James Okonjo reviewed the alien transmission with the same careful attention he usually reserved for analyzing new symphonic compositions. Their communication patterns are fascinating. He mused to his colleague, Dr. Sarah Patel. So much emphasis on force, Yet their quantum signatures reveal such beautiful underlying harmonies. They're like children playing with thunder, unaware they're standing in an orchestra, Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface, already composing a response. Should we show them what 3,000 years of peaceful evolution really means? Marina Chen resumed her position at the podium, but now she conducted more than just the orchestra. Through quantum-enhanced consciousness, shared by all of humanity, she began orchestrating a response that would use the Coraxians' own warships as instruments in humanity's grandest performance yet. The first notes of Earth's response rippled through space, not radio waves or particle beams, but pure cultural energy, refined through millennia of artistic evolution. The Coraxian fleet's sensors registered nothing threatening, nothing their weapons could target. Instead, their ships began to resonate with frequencies that spoke directly to their crew's consciousness, carrying 3,000 years of human artistic achievement in waves of pure creative force. Admiral Zextar of the Coraxian fleet was the first to feel it. As he stood on his command deck, preparing to launch the first strike, tears began streaming down his crystalline face. Through his neural link with the fleet, he could feel his entire army experiencing the same thing. An overwhelming wave of beauty, understanding, and connection that made their weapons seem suddenly primitive and meaningless. The human response continued, transforming the space around Earth into a gallery of light and sound, each warship becoming part of an artistic installation that spanned thousands of kilometers. The Coraxian crews found themselves not prisoners of war, but unwitting participants in humanity's greatest artistic achievement, a performance that would reshape their understanding of power itself. Dr. Okonjo watched the quantum readings with satisfaction. "They're beginning to understand," he said, as the Coraxian fleet's weapon systems spontaneously transformed into musical instruments, their energy cores becoming resonance chambers for the greatest symphony the galaxy had ever witnessed. The invasion that was meant to subjugate Earth instead became First Contact's greatest irony, a demonstration that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to transform, create, and connect. As Marina Chen's orchestra played on, their music now reaching across space itself, humanity prepared to welcome their newest audience members to a performance 3,000 years in the making. The Coraxians had come expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, they found themselves front-row witnesses to the next stage of conscious evolution, one where art, not weapons, shaped the destiny of species. And in the floating amphitheater of Neo-Singapore, Marina Chen finally lowered her baton, but the symphony was far from over. It was merely the first movement in humanity's new galactic composition. The silent response. The Coraxian fleet hung in space like a constellation of confusion. Admiral Zextar's crystalline appendages trembled as he attempted to comprehend what was happening to his mighty armada. Where there should have been fear from the humans, there was harmony. Where there should have been military countermeasures, there was music. In the quantum-enhanced gardens of Terra Prime, formerly known as the United Nations headquarters, Dr. Maya Lakshmi watched the holographic display of the transformation with quiet satisfaction. The living crystals that made up her workspace hummed in perfect resonance with the data streaming in from space. Each Coraxian ship was being gently, inexorably, transformed by humanity's response. "They expected us to fight back with weapons," she said to her colleague, Dr. Chen Wei, who was sculpting probability waves with practiced gestures. "They couldn't have known that we'd long since transformed our understanding of conflict itself." The garden around them shifted in response to their conversation, crystalline structures growing and reshaping themselves in patterns that reflected the ongoing transformation in space. 3,000 years of peaceful development had taught humanity that the universe itself was more artwork than battlefield. Aboard the Coraxian flagship, the crew watched in amazement as their weapon systems began to evolve. Particle beam projectors flowered into crystalline arrays that captured and enhanced the beauty of nearby stars. Shield generators became resonance chambers that transformed the background radiation of space into haunting melodies. "What manner of warfare is this?" demanded Sub-Commander Ixtel, their carapace flushing with confusion patterns. Admiral Zextar could only watch as his mighty fleet became part of humanity's grand exhibition. This isn't warfare at all, he realized, understanding dawning like a new star in his consciousness. Back on Earth, the Global Cultural Exchange Hub had become a symphony of activity. Dr. James Okonjo and his team were working with the quantum harmonics that connected all of humanity, weaving the Corexian fleet into their artistic network. Each ship became a new instrument in humanity's orchestra, each crew member an unwitting participant in the greatest peace demonstration ever attempted. They came looking for submission. Dr. Sarah Patil observed, her fingers dancing across quantum interfaces that looked more like musical instruments than computer consoles. Instead, they're becoming part of our greatest masterpiece. The transformation was spreading through the Corexian fleet like a gentle wave. Warships that had been designed to destroy worlds were becoming galleries of light and sound. The crews, connected to their ships through neural interfaces, found themselves experiencing 3,000 years of human cultural evolution in a cascading rush of understanding. Marina Chen, still conducting from her podium in Neo Singapore, had become a nexus point for this unprecedented exchange. Through her, the combined artistic consciousness of humanity reached out to the Corexian fleet. Each movement of her baton sent new waves of transformation rippling through space. The Corexians discovered that resistance was not only futile, it was unnecessary. Their mighty weapons, designed to shatter planets, were being repurposed into instruments of creation. Their military hierarchy, built on force and domination, was dissolving into a collaborative artistic endeavor that spanned the space between worlds. Dr. Maya Lakshmi's quantum gardens were now in full bloom, each crystal singing in harmony with the transformed Corexian ships. "We're not defeating them," she explained to a gathering of young artists in training. "We're inviting them to join a performance that began 3,000 years ago, when we chose to lay down our weapons and pick up instruments instead." In space, Admiral Zextar found himself moving to the podium of his transformed bridge. His tactical display had become a conductor's score, showing not battle plans but movement patterns, harmony structures, and the intricate dance of quantum possibilities. Without fully understanding why, he raised his arms and began to conduct. The response from his fleet was immediate and beautiful. Each transformed ship added its voice to the growing symphony. The very fabric of space around them began to shimmer with patterns of light and sound that no weapon could have ever produced. Humanity's silent response to aggression was proving more powerful than any fleet of warships. They hadn't just avoided conflict, they had transcended it entirely, transforming a moment of potential destruction into an opportunity for unprecedented creation. Symphony of Surrender. The transformation of the Corexian fleet had become a spectacle visible from Earth's surface. Where once there had been warships arranged in attack formations, now there was an ever-shifting kaleidoscope of light and energy, each vessel contributing to a grand artistic performance that defied traditional physics. In the quantum gardens of Terra Prime, Dr. Maya Lakshmi and her team watched as something unexpected began to emerge. The Corexians weren't simply being pacified. They were beginning to create. Their own cultural memories, long suppressed by millennia of militant expansion, were awakening. "Look at these patterns," Dr. Chen Wei exclaimed, pointing to the crystalline displays. "They're not just mimicking our artistic expressions, they're adding their own voice to the symphony." Indeed, through the quantum harmonics network, Earth's observers could detect new themes emerging from the transformed Corexian fleet. Ancient songs of their species, stories of their own journey among the stars, all woven into the growing tapestry of cultural exchange. Admiral Zextar, still conducting from his transformed bridge, had discovered something profound. His species' natural crystalline biology, which they had always used for weapons and war, had a deeper purpose. They were natural amplifiers of beauty, capable of capturing and enhancing artistic expression in ways humans had never imagined. All this time, he transmitted to Earth, his thoughts carried on waves of pure artistic energy, We thought our crystalline nature made us perfect warriors. We never realized it made us perfect artists. Marina Chen, receiving this transmission in Neo Singapore, felt tears of joy streaming down her face. The World Symphony Orchestra, still playing beneath the floating amphitheater, began incorporating the alien harmonies into their performance. The music that resulted was unlike anything ever heard on Earth or in the galaxy. In orbit, the transformed Corexian ships began arranging themselves in new patterns. No longer bound by military doctrine, they moved according to artistic intuition. Their crystalline hulls captured starlight and transformed it into displays of color and motion that told stories of both human and Corexian history. Dr. James Okonjo, monitoring the quantum harmonics from the Cultural Exchange Hub, noticed something remarkable. The transformation is accelerating, he reported to the World Council. But it's not just the Corexian fleet anymore. Their homeworld. Their entire civilization is beginning to resonate with the change. Through the quantum network that now connected both species, humans could sense the ripples of transformation spreading through Corexian space. Warships in distant systems spontaneously transformed into artistic installations. Military academies became conservatories. The change that had begun as Earth's defense was becoming a galactic renaissance. Sub-Commander Ixtel, whose initial confusion had given way to wonder, made an unexpected discovery in the ship's transformed data cores. "Admiral," they called out, their crystalline form glowing with excitement. "I found references in our oldest records. Before we became a warrior species, we were known throughout our sector as creators of unparalleled beauty. Our weapons, they were originally instruments." The revelation swept through the fleet like a shockwave of understanding. The Corexians' military might had been built upon a fundamental misunderstanding of their own nature. Their species' unique ability to channel and amplify energy had been turned toward destruction when its true purpose was creation. Dr. Sarah Patel, working with the quantum harmonics, began detecting new patterns in the background radiation of space itself. "It's as if the universe is joining the performance," she whispered in awe. The cosmic microwave background, that endless echo of the Big Bang, was being captured and transformed by the crystalline ships into a symphony that spoke of creation itself. In Neo Singapore, Marina Chen felt the moment had come for the next movement of this unprecedented performance. With a gesture that was both conducting and invitation, she reached out through the quantum network to Admiral Zexstar. "Shall we compose the future together?" she asked. The Admiral's response came not in words, but in a surge of artistic energy that transformed the space between Earth and his fleet into a canvas of unprecedented beauty. The Corexian ships, now fully awakened to their true nature, began creating patterns that would have been impossible for either species alone. Humanity's defense had become more than just a demonstration of peaceful strength. It had awakened a sleeping artist race to its true nature. The galaxy would never be the same, and the symphony was still building toward its crescendo backslash. The Gallery of Peace. The discovery that the Corexians were naturally attuned to artistic expression changed everything. What had begun as an invasion was transforming into the greatest collaborative art project the galaxy had ever witnessed. The space between Earth and the transformed fleet had become a living gallery, where light, energy, and consciousness merged in ways that defied conventional understanding. In the quantum gardens of Terra Prime, Dr. Maya Lakshmi worked alongside a Corexian cultural attaché, their crystalline form refracting sunlight into complex patterns that told stories of their people's forgotten past. "Our oldest legends," the attaché explained, their form pulsing with emotion, "speak of a time when we shaped stars into sculptures and used nebulae as our canvas." The Quantum Harmonics Network, originally established as humanity's response to the invasion, had evolved into something far more profound. It now connected both species in a vast web of shared creativity, allowing instant transmission of not just ideas, but entire artistic experiences. Admiral Zexstar, once the commander of an invasion fleet, had become the conductor of an interstellar orchestra. His crystalline form, now fully awakened to its true purpose, served as a natural amplifier for the combined artistic expression of both species. Under his direction, the transformed warships began creating astronomical-scale art installations that could be seen from light years away. "We were wrong about so many things," he transmitted to the World Council. "We thought humanity's lack of military development was weakness. Instead, you had evolved beyond our comprehension, turning the very fabric of reality into your medium." In Neo-Singapore, Marina Chen had expanded her orchestra to include Coraxian musicians. Their natural ability to channel and modulate energy through their crystalline forms added entirely new dimensions to human music. The performances now literally altered the local quantum field, creating experiences that transcended traditional sensory boundaries. Dr. James Okonjo and his team at the Cultural Exchange Hub made another startling discovery. The artistic energies being generated by the human-Coraxian collaboration were having unexpected effects on the fundamental structure of space-time itself. "It's as if we're rewriting the universe's source code through art," he explained to an enthralled audience of both species. The transformation spread rapidly through Coraxian space. Their former military installations, already transformed into artistic venues, began attracting creative minds from both civilizations. The Coraxians' crystalline cities, once designed for defense, now became living sculptures that responded to the emotions and creative impulses of their inhabitants. Sub-Commander Ixtel, who had discovered the truth about their species' artistic heritage, established the first interstellar academy of creative physics. Here, humans and Coraxians worked together to explore the intersection of art, science, and consciousness. Their discoveries suggested that the universe itself might be an ongoing act of cosmic creativity. "Our weapons," Ixtel explained during the Academy's opening ceremony, were merely crude attempts to manipulate energy and matter. "Through art, we achieve the same results with beauty and purpose, creating rather than destroying." The Gallery of Peace, as the transformed fleet came to be known, attracted attention from other spacefaring civilizations. Species that had long avoided contact with the militant Coraxian Empire now approached with curiosity and wonder. Each brought their own artistic traditions, adding new layers to the ever-evolving collaboration. Dr. Sarah Patel discovered that the quantum harmonics network had begun resonating with similar networks throughout the galaxy. "It's as if we've tapped into some kind of galactic creative consciousness," she reported, "one that's been waiting for species to evolve enough to access it." Marina Chen, conducting a piece that incorporated artistic elements from a dozen different species, realized that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't surviving the Coraxian invasion. It was helping awaken the galaxy to new forms of expression and interaction. The symphony they were creating together was becoming a new universal language. In orbit, the transformed Coraxian ships continued their endless dance, each movement generating new forms of beauty. But now they were joined by vessels from other civilizations, each contributing their own artistic perspectives to the grand performance. The Gallery of Peace had become a beacon, drawing together species that might otherwise have never met. Admiral Zextar, watching this transformation from his crystalline podium, sent a final message to his former military command. "We sought to conquer the galaxy through force, but we were conquered by beauty instead. And in surrender, we found our true victory." Legacy of Creation. A century after the day the Coraxian fleet arrived at Earth, humanity celebrated not a victory of war, but a renaissance of peace. The Sol system had become the creative heart of a galactic civilization, where art and science danced together in ways previously unimagined. Marina Chen's granddaughter, Lily Chen, stood at the same podium where her grandmother had once transformed an invasion into an artistic revolution. But now she conducted an orchestra that spanned species and star systems. Through the evolved quantum harmonics network, musicians from 1,000 worlds played together in perfect synchronization, their music literally reshaping the fabric of reality. The universe itself is an artwork, Dr. Maya Lakshmi had written in her final thesis before ascending to a pure energy form to explore the cosmos. and we are all its artists, each civilization adding its own unique brushstroke to the infinite canvas. The Corrections, once feared as galactic conquerors, had become renowned as master artists. Their crystalline biology, fully awakened to its true purpose, allowed them to create works that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions. Their former warships, now permanent installations in the Gallery of Peace, served as living museums where young species could learn about the transformation from conflict to creation. Admiral Zextar, now the Dean of the Interstellar Academy of Creative Physics, often told his students, "We came to Earth expecting to find an easy conquest. Instead, we found teachers who showed us who we truly were." The quantum gardens of Terra Prime had expanded to encompass the entire solar system. Vast artistic structures orbited every planet, each one a collaboration between different species, each telling stories of transformation and discovery. The asteroid belt had been transformed into a kinetic sculpture that danced to the music of the spheres. Dr. James Okonjo's final discovery, before he joined the growing community of energy beings, was that the artistic expressions of advanced civilizations could actually influence the development of younger species across vast distances. The beauty created in one system resonated through subspace, inspiring dreams and visions that guided developing worlds toward peaceful evolution. "We never needed weapons," Sub-Commander Ixtel, now the curator of the Living Museum of Peace, often explained to visitors. "The power to shape reality was always within us. We simply needed to learn to wield it with love instead of fear." The human correction renaissance had sparked a chain reaction throughout the galaxy. Species that had been locked in ancient conflicts found themselves drawn to the artistic energies emanating from Earth. One by one, they laid down their weapons and picked up instruments of creation. War became an increasingly distant memory as more civilizations discovered their own unique contributions to the galactic symphony. In the quantum gardens, now tended by artists from across the cosmos, new forms of consciousness emerged regularly. The boundary between art and artist, between creation and creator, grew increasingly fluid. Some theorized that the galaxy itself was becoming aware through the creative expressions of its inhabitants. Lili Chen, completing her grandmother's final composition, felt the truth of this. As she conducted the multi-species orchestra, their music reaching across light years, she could sense the universe itself listening, appreciating, evolving. The performance was more than art. It was reality expressing itself through countless conscious beings, each adding their own voice to the eternal symphony. The invasion that never was had become the transformation that changed everything. Humanity's response to aggression, a smile and an invitation to create, had unleashed a power greater than any weapon. They had shown the galaxy that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to create, to connect, to transform. And in the vast, art-filled space that had once been a battlefield, countless beings from countless worlds continued the performance that had begun with a single conductor's smile. The symphony played on, eternal and ever-changing, as the galaxy itself danced to the music of peace. The end.